This is Second Wind.
Xanthe Wells, VP of Global Creative at Pinterest, leads the House of Creative, the in-house team behind the company's biggest cultural moments, recently named In-House Agency of the Year at the Gerety Awards. Before Pinterest, Xanthe led global creative for Google's Pixel and Nest brands, bringing home a Cannes Grand Prix, a D&AD Black Pencil, and back-to-back Brand Side Agency of the Year honors. She kicked off her career in epic fashion, working on Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., and The Incredibles, pretty good run, and also worked with the one and only Lee Clow at TBWA Chai Day. She also happens to be one of the kindest, most generous, and most empathetic leaders I've ever come across. Xanthe, welcome to Second Wind.
Thanks. It's good to see you. I always love hanging out with you.
Your career reads like a bit of a greatest hits from start to finish. Why did you get into this business? And then how on earth did you manage to start working on Nemo, Incredibles, Monsters, and then Lee Clow?
Pixar was the formative experience for sure. I luckily got an internship there, and just backing up a little bit, I was comics editor of our school paper at Brown. I loved drawing comics. I got really turned on to comics a year abroad at RISD abroad, which is across the street. And I took a class from David Mazzucchelli, who wrote Batman Year One. And I was hooked. I was like, oh my God, sequential storytelling. I can combine words. It's really what we do now, words, drawings, ideas that flow through story, all of that. And so learning how to craft stories, do comics was
Wow.
like, this is something I love.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I was going to be the next Ariel Schrag. I was like, I'm going to kick ass in comics. Fort Thunder was a big artistic influence back then in Providence, Rhode Island. And that's where a lot of Brian Ralph and a lot of other great comic people came from. And and so I randomly came across this internship for Pixar. I sent them some comics.
And back at that time, was Pixar a huge, global force? It was sort of new.
They'd done Toy Story, so they were definitely on the map.
Yeah.
And
Steve was pretty involved back then, right? I think.
Was involved.
Yeah.
It was involved. And my internship was received by Catherine Serafian and Jonas Rivera, who are now huge Disney execs. But Jonas, I think, was a coordinator at the time. And they were like cracking up my comics. They were a little dirty, so I'm surprised I got the internship. But and that was really lucky. So I got to spend a summer there, and then I came back and worked there for a whole year. And I was a PA in the art department. So I got to help all the artists get to creative reviews. So that's when I learned to first convince people to do something they don't want to do, is to show up to a creative review and pin all their drawings up. And, I was drawing a lot myself. I got a chance to
And that was a very in-office experience back then, right? Like everybody was in the office.
Yeah. I mean, Lou Romano was there, Teddy Newton, Brad Bird, Joe Rampt, Andrew Stanton were milling around the same half a football field kind of place. Like it just was tiny. It was 350 people when I started.
Pixar sort of pioneered the computer animation, is that correct? So it was sort of a shift from hand-drawn cell animation. This is definitely not my field of expertise, so please correct me. But
no, that was right.
Did that feel like you guys were doing something, revolutionary at the time?
I think absolutely, because they had done a lot of commercials like Listerine ads, and I think Lifesavers at the time just sort of paid the bills. But computer animation had been written off a little bit as just slick, doesn't have feeling, you can't get emotion out of it. And those guys figured out how, they were all CalArts, classically trained animators, and they figured out how to really make characters move and express themselves and emote in the way that, great cell animation had. So the storytelling was at the level of, Disney work.
So
but I remember seeing the render farm, which was this huge room filled with servers. I mean, these are common things now, but then you never saw anything like that. And it was air conditioned and cooled and just this is where it all happens. And I remember just being like, this is the coolest thing ever. So
it sounds remarkably similar to the situation we're in today with AI.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. And I've always loved technology. I mean, my dad was an engineer, Silicon Valley guy early on. So I grew up with engineering plans on our dining room table. I mean, he was literally hand stenciling every electronic connection and chips. So I grew up kind of being around that. I remember him saying computers are going to be in everything. They're not going to just be in my basement. They're going to be, everywhere, and small. He's like, they're going to be really small. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, what does
And
that mean?
he called that.
Called it from, yeah, the late 70s, early 80s till now. So I've loved technology. I love AI. I'm fascinated by it.
What an interesting mix of like comics,
Yeah.
drawing, and technology.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a sweet spot. I was in heaven. I mean, I was like, and I've been in heaven kind of ever since. I've had a few toxic jobs, but like for the most part,
Yeah.
it's been pretty good.
And how did you shift to advertising with Lee?
When I was at Pixar, I decided I wanted to go back to school to be an animator. Like I was like, I'm going to pursue this illustration and learn how to really draw like these guys and animate. And then when I was at Art Center, that was my second degree, I fell in love with advertising. Something about the collaborative nature of advertising and problem solving with demographics, the science behind advertising, I was really interested in. Fast forward, I got a job out of school at Ground Zero for 2 years. And then shortly after that, Lee Clow was Shyatt. I mean, Lee didn't hire me, Jerry Gentile hired me. And I worked in the 70-person creative department at Shyatt for 7 years.
A lot of Apple influence there.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, Scott Tratner, Jason, all of them were literally sitting next door or right around me until they moved them out of the building. Then it was like, oh, wait, we have PlayStation and then Apple has to go over here.
And did Apple feel like the force it is today? Obviously, it's sort of in everybody's pocket today, but did it feel like that back then, or did it
Oh,
feel a
yeah.
bit more of an upstart?
Oh, absolutely. You'd walk into Chiat and there were just all the iPod posters. And every season they would change. And I would just
Oh, I
stare at
remember
them.
those with the dancing people.
Yes.
Yeah, right. The silhouettes.
So beautiful. Like to
Yeah.
this day, one of my favorite out-of-home campaigns, if not the favorite.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that one. You bring an enormous amount of creative energy to a brand in tech. What was it at Pinterest that convinced you that that was the right next challenge after Google?
Well, I had a year-long kind of courtship with my boss, Andrea Millard. I wasn't quite ready to leave Google when we first started talking, but by the time I did go to Pinterest, I was definitely ready and super excited. She loves creativity. I think of her as a creative. She's just also really good at all the other stuff. But she made it clear to me that she wanted me to do what I was good at doing. And she felt like she was going to hire me and then trust me. And I really got the sense that she was going to give me decision-making power. And that remained true. As part of the interview process, I did meet with the CEO, Bill Reddy, and I thought he was lovely. And the highlight of that interview was us talking about Think Different, the original Apple manifesto, and how much he loved it and why he loved it. And we talked about Mac versus PC. And I thought immediately, this guy has incredible taste. These are also things I love. I just thought this person values creativity, and that's also been true for the last 3 years. He has been so thankful and gracious about the role House of Creative has played in the brand, and really, I think, cleared the way for us to do great work. So it's been really magical to have that combination of CEO and CMO who believe in creative.
What do you see as like the best model, at least for you, in terms of like internal, external? Like, how do you balance that?
I think it's still a combination. Like, I think the in-house model is great. Obviously, I've been a big fan for, 8 years of doing this, but I think it puts creatives more in the driver's seat and they're able to establish trust with marketers because they're sitting on the same side of the table. But I think there's always going to be room for outside perspective, people that come to the table with totally different experience and don't want to maybe be inside a corporation. There's still really great creative voices out there that we want to hear, I want to hear, that are not inside. I think I have an amazing team and I stand by that, but we're starting to actually work with an outside agency now, which I'm pretty thrilled about. I think I can say who we're working with, which is Rethink. They're wonderful. Aaron Starkman's, when I became a board member at One Club with him, we just decided let's get on the phone with Aaron, see what he's like. And then we ended up deciding to work with them on a project.
Is that a real
I
dog?
know.
Yes, it is. I was like, wait, is this a background?
Like, oh yeah, he does this very prissy kind of thing
So
with his paws.
cute. I'm curious where you learned to lead with such generosity and kindness.
I don't know how to do it any other way. Early days of advertising, bro leadership that was just didn't work for me. Like I wanted to be heard. I didn't want to be talked over. I wanted someone to understand if like I was feeling unwell. I had thyroid cancer, and I remember there was a CCO at a job that I was at, and he said, "I hope your throat thing's okay." Sort of dismissive and awful, and it didn't make me wanna work harder for him. When I first inherited a team of 20 at Chiat, I felt like suddenly I had this little nest of birds that were looking up at me going, "Protect me, make sure I
Cheep,
don't get
cheep.
hurt." Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit, and I was
Yeah.
like,
That's so,
"Okay, I'll do that." And I was
yeah.
like, "How do I protect these guys and use any kind of, like, political capital or credibility or, past experience to shelter them from anything unnecessary that would make them feel bad. Or creatives are so sensitive. One comment can send them into a 6-month, you know, dark hole. I'm really, really careful with that stuff. They do need a different experience, especially in a corporation, but I think in an agency too. I don't know how to like beat people into great work. I was just thinking about one of my favorite ads of all time, the P&G thank you mom stuff. It's not because I relate to it actually as a mom, because I'm still I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. I don't have the end of the line where they're going through the Olympic gates.
Mm.
Not what I relate to actually was being a creative director. How many times you pick them up, making sure they see you when they're trying something. All of those moments to me are deeply embedded in getting people to do amazing work. You are there for all the bumps and bruises and feeling stuck and wanting to throw it all away and all the emotions that people go through in a creative process or in a creative career. My job is to pick them up, get them back on track, infuse them with some kind of belief that they can do it, and then they go on their way. It's not really about creative directing ads as much to me. It's much more about the human.
Such an interesting way to think about like leading a team. It's like similar to parenting.
There's so many things that I've learned being a parent that I can't help but, bring those into my work.
Speaking of like creative process and your work, what is it about your process that you think is sort of unique and special? And like, do you do anything weird?
If I'm working on a brief,
Yeah, like Jamie has a song thing, she
yes,
talks about. It's so
I
funny.
know. I love her song thing, and I
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
tried that. I mean, hanging upside down has always been a good one for me. Like,
Like physically.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
rush to the brain. You
Do you have
know,
one of those things in your house? You put your feet.
I
What
did
are?
for a minute,
Yeah.
but I
Okay.
just, kick my feet up on the sofa like, like a kid, like
Okay.
and go way back onto the floor, and then I'm like, "Okay, I've got blood back," and, I
Interesting.
laughing is always, like, an unlock for me, like, I have to be around funny people. It's probably why I work with Becca and Gage so much on in every job, some permutation of Becca and Gage have showed up, and they're hysterical, they make me laugh, they relax me, and so I always think you can get to ideas if you're relaxed. You can't get to ideas if you're, like, holding on really tight and there's too much pressure. So
Yeah.
it's playful, like, I'm a playful person, and I you know, I thrive off of that. So, yeah, that's kind of my process.
That's an interesting note on the creative process, being upside down, laughing, play. Traditionally, and we talked about DDB a little bit, but we used to get like 6 weeks for creative development back at DDB. We talked to Jerry recently, and he talked about some of the Skittles work was 6 to 8 months in development. How do you create that environment in today's landscape to allow your creative teams to like relax and have fun and be playful?
As the speed has picked up, I've made the pressure I put on them lower and lower. I'm really there to cheer them on. I have a great team, and they've also worked with me now for 3 years at Pinterest. I don't do a lot of, like, correcting of the work. I do a lot of, like, helping to package or infuse joy into it or pat them on the back for really crushing it. The hardcore kind of creative direction really came in the first year and a half, to kind of get the brand back on track, and now they top themselves all the time, but I try to make it fun. I just really try to make it, like, as low stakes as possible because I actually know it's very high stakes, millions of dollars, but you can't think about that. if you're doing the work. You just have to think about what's in front of you. Is
Mm.
it good? Do we like it? How do we feel about it? Otherwise, it's too much stressed, like too much pressure. I have definitely 2 different roles. One is sort of, with my peers and up, and that's a much more formal. I love business. I love how it all works and whether we have impact and what our metrics are. So,
It's like
there's
the
part
engineer in you, right? Yeah.
I've always been interested in that, probably why I went brand side, but, and then, below in my team, it's more, how can I just give them, because they're in all different stages of their creative career. So how can I create an environment where they feel safe, they feel seen, they feel heard? I help, patch up issues that are, bubbling up in the team. I try to set the vision and how we behave, how we treat each other. But I try to make sure that it's not too much in the business and the pressure that I see and I hear at the leadership team level. So some of that I bring some of it back, but it's, for the most part, that's a lot of it's not necessary, I don't think, to do great work.
Because the category is a bit
Yeah.
like fantastical. And if you compare yourself to, let's say, I mean, just seeing that like Nvidia's 5 trillion,
Yeah.
Apple's 4 trillion,
I know.
Jensen's talking about we sold $600 billion worth of chips. Even Google search, they
Mhm.
grew Google search 15% year on year for a
Mhm.
product that's like 90% market share. How do you deal with that in the category and try to
Yeah.
remain focused and calm and deal with all those pressures?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. The market's charging, it's NVIDIA passing 5 trillion these are crazy things that are happening right now. And I invested a while ago in AI and different all these different companies because I believed I saw
Well
where,
done.
like, I really want to be part of this, and I
Yeah.
think it is the industrial revolution
Yeah.
takes two, and so I'm excited about that. I think with Pinterest, what we try to do is focus on what we can do really well. Like, we are right now, being the positive corner of the internet is more important than it ever has been, because you have a generation who are looking for dumb phones. They're trying to connect in person. They're deleting Instagram. They're kind of having a silent rebellion and vocal rebellion against the diet they were raised on. My 13-year-old daughter has timers set on all different apps. She goes and rides her bike and walks. Like, I'm not making this up,
That's cool.
because she literally doesn't wanna be on her phone. She might listen to a podcast, but she's not texting while she's walking. She wants to be outside, she wants to talk to friends. We try to focus on doing what we do well and being better and better at that. Visual search is so important right now when you have so much text-based search and AI. Where are you gonna go to see the pictures anymore? Our eyes are our most important sense in many ways. Pinterest allows you to see this kind of humanity's visual catalog and search it. That's where we focus. We're not gonna be the size of NVIDIA, most likely. So, but, it's also funny when people, put us in the same line as a lot of these big tech companies and think we might have the same budgets, which we don't. So, surprise, surprise, vendor friends.
How are you thinking about AI from both a talent perspective, right? Which I think that is like making sure your human team feels appreciated and empowered. On the other side of the coin, I think we hear from a lot of leadership that they're getting immense pressure to be more efficient, you know,
Mhm.
deliver millions of creative variants and personalize and do that with speed and efficiency.
I'm glad we're talking about this. I just recently gave a whole talk on this at the gathering because, like I said, I'm fascinated with AI. I'm fascinated with what it can do. With my team, we have this phrase: "Start with human, end with human," because we believe that AI is helpful sometimes as a tool in the middle, but it can't generate the full thing. We've had 0 instances of that. In fact, sometimes it creates more work because you have more
Yeah.
versions, more to pick through. There's some really great trade-offs that we've been able to make for things that don't really matter but were expensive. We wanted to change the texture, and that was gonna be a crazy amount of money. We did it for 5,000 with a vendor who, turned it around really quickly. Like, I like that kinda stuff because
Yeah.
I can devote more time to actually paying humans, brilliant humans, to come in with great ideas, because then we still need that. I've yet to see it write a great script.
Not
Better.
funny.
It's not funny.
It's not
No, it's
funny.
not
It's not good at comedy.
not weird. It's like,
Yeah.
I love to pit our writers against AI because AI always picks humans in my experience. Try to remind the team that they're not going to be replaced. A year ago, everyone was saying they'd go to conferences, half this room won't even be here next year. You're all going to be replaced. That didn't happen. In 3 years' time, we might be having a different conversation. But right now, human creativity and being able to put together unusual things, which is the basis of creativity, is not there. It's just simply not there. You can have these kind of surreal like scenes, but they don't mean anything. There's no idea.
It's not a magic button. It really sucks at comedy,
Yeah.
performance, and then design.
Yeah.
It really sucks at design. Thinking back to like pre-iPhone, right? Before the App Store, before Uber, when the iPhone was launched, everyone thought it was a shitty phone. No one thought it was like, wow, this world-changing device everyone's going to have in their pocket. It's going to change the nature of media consumption. Why do I need an app store? I couldn't imagine what Uber would be. This step change in technology created all these new businesses that we couldn't even really wrap our heads around. AI is going to be similar, where it doesn't replace the humans. It sort of unlocks this new wave of like innovation and creativity and, you know, human creation. This is obviously the optimist take.
No, I completely feel that way. Like I'm so excited that people can start businesses who couldn't start them before. Like I myself feel like suddenly, oh my gosh, I could actually launch an app because I have an idea for one.
Yeah.
I could do it, and I was so intimidated before, even
Yeah.
being in Silicon Valley. Now it's like I can learn about what it takes to start a business. I can have a business plan. I can do all these things and play with them on a flight and just explore an idea that I've always had. I think for people, entrepreneurial people, great.
Yeah. It's sort of the ultimate democratizer in that anybody can get a really good coach for any topic
Yeah.
on demand. I walk around my house taking pictures of things, saying like, what is this and how do I fix it?
Yeah. Yes,
And like,
exactly.
it's not perfect, but like, it's very good.
No, it's so helpful. I mean, I'm like DIY all the time now.
Yeah.
Because, like, how do I spackle my walls? Oh,
And as a parent, how are you thinking about your kids as they sort of lead up to their careers and figure out what they want to do? The tendency there is to get AI to do the work. If you choose the shortcut, and it's very convenient to choose a shortcut, you sort of undercut your own agency and craft.
I look at it as a pure numbers game. I tell my kids all the time that everybody's going to be doing AI slop. So are you going to be the 5% that chooses not to? Because that's what's going to make you stand out. If you write a letter and it's obviously written by a person, you know, I just this morning I got a very sanded off note and I'm like, did AI write that? And it doesn't even
Sand it
matter.
off. I love that, Xanthe. Sand it off. It's very sanded off. Just
No,
like
it was, and it actually needed to be, it was a note that needed to actually have a human voice, you know? And so I really think that it's like pushing yourself to always stand out in the world you live in now. Context is everything. Like I mean, I even heard from my law school friend, everybody's using AI and they're not building the rational reasoning skills to solve problems. And how are you going to be a good lawyer in a courtroom if you can't actually reason on your own and put together those ideas? It's really hard, but it's worth it because you have command then. I remember so much of art history. I remember so much of what I've read that I can pull that back when I need it. Like
I'm curious what you're most excited about at Pinterest at the moment.
we have a lot of great projects in the hopper, but I'm most excited about the team. I think the team is at an incredible place. Since I've been there, I've been saying, you know, just brief yourselves. Take what you see in the world, brief yourself. Like get that muscle because you can't wait for the perfect brief to land on your desk and you can't wait for someone to say, please solve this business problem. But they just did this thing where I said, here's a sales issue that we're having. Read this deck, which is not even written for them. They came back with all these great ways to go to market to like address these issues our sales team is having. They did it all very complex, but they did it all by themselves. And they did that thing where they briefed themselves, they created some awesome assets, and that was that. Like, that's the kind of thing where I feel like my team is really humming. They're starting to be more than creatives. They're figuring out how to solve problems. They're realizing the power of what they can offer. This is my dream come true. So I'm really excited about where the team is going to go. And they
The
They
birds are
talk.
flying. The little birds are flying.
They really
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
The little
yeah,
birds are flying, and
yeah,
and I love seeing how proud they are of themselves and what they accomplish. I'm a total proud mama, if I'm allowed to say that in this day and
yeah.
age.
Our job as parents is to make them
Yeah.
independent, confident, able to solve
Yeah.
problems.
Yes. Yes. Now I need to do that with my own kids, but, now that my team can fly, I'm like,
Once you
"Okay."
figure it out, tell me how I should do it.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's so much work.
You start as an intern.
Mhm.
There's less and less of those opportunities to start your career. What advice would you have for all the mini Xanthes out there who want to have this
Mhm.
amazing creative career?
If I were starting out, I would be in my studio apartment learning everything I could about AI and figuring out how to start a business. Like
Lean
that.
into tech, lean into
Yeah,
the next wave, right?
creativity is about ideas and things that have never been done before. I would have developed an app 20 years ago if I could have, if I felt like I had the ability. I've had a lot of ideas for different businesses the whole time, and I've felt so boxed in and also very busy obviously with advertising. But now that advertising, a lot of the like really grunt stuff has been made easier or will be made easier. Like I hope I never have to shoot a plate again. If you're a creative person and you can use your skills to do it yourself. My kids only want products that are by YouTube influencers or that appear in, do you know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Like, way to go. I'm not saying you should be an influencer, but the marketing has radically shifted. How are you gonna be a part of this world? Like, I think there's lots of ways in to make money in the new way that it is. What worked for us coming up and has carried us through as we continue to learn is no longer even the framework. Maybe there's no entry level jobs, but look at all the things that there are. If you have self-starting initiative and your ability to network. There's this one girl that I see, there's lots of people that reach out and want to make connections, but this one girl in particular has just gone out of her way to like keep in touch with me. She just saw me at the gathering. She's met me at the gathering last year, and she's very focused on building a network, and she does it in a really confident way, and she kind of commands the time. And that's powerful. That anyone can do. So if a job comes up that I have, she's definitely on a short list because I've gotten to know her. She's put herself in front of me multiple times. She seems great. Like, I think it's there for the taking. You just have to like be inventive and creative in how you do it, how you go about it.
One of our early shows was David Lee. He's a co-chair of RISD, and he's thinking about what the next 150 years of education look like. He said that creative is going to be the only job in the future. He meant that in a very broad sense of creative people in finance, creative
Yes.
people in all different fields, because all of the medial tasks will be taken by automation and compute.
Right. That's exactly it. Like a great creative brain can do pretty much anything, especially now that we aren't made to feel inferior, that we can't figure out how P&L works. You can just go read about it.
Yeah.
Things that were intimidating, they're not intimidating now. Like they're there for you. I completely 1000% agree with what he's talking about.
David thinks creative should be CEO. I don't want to get too far ahead for you
Oh.
personally. Where do you go from being like the top creative person?
How can you use what you can do well to do the next thing, or to make the thing you're doing better? Like,
Find a new nest. You've got to find a new nest.
I am really truly an entrepreneur at heart. Like, I love starting things, whether it's building teams, Google on Pinterest, starting my own brands with Starco and doing whip shots, partnered a pizza company we sold in Whole Foods. I like mentoring creative people. I don't think I want to be necessarily a coach, but I love the idea of being more of a sounding board, having more time to do that. Being with my kids obviously is really, really important. I'm just deeply interested in technology and AI. Like I'm obsessed with it.
Xanthe, you've always been very generous with your time with me, and I appreciate that. Thanks for coming on Second Wind.
Sure.